India is clashing with America on a vital issue. American interference in the politics of a close Indian partner is causing trouble. And that partner is Bangladesh, which is set to hold a national election soon. So what exactly is going on and why is India worried about America? In January next year, Bangladesh is expected to head into an extremely controversial general election. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a close Indian partner, will seek re-election. Hasina and her Awami League party have been in power since 2009. However, Hasina's government has been accused of increasing authoritarianism, jailing oppositional leaders, and rigging elections. Here's where America enters the mix. Washington has very publicly called on Hasina's government to ensure free and fair elections in the coming election season. America's role has become a key issue in Bangladeshi politics. Opposition parties have seized on America's intervention, while tensions have increased between Hasina's government and America. But all of this has India worried. India has warned the United States to avoid putting too much pressure on Hasina, given that the Bangladeshi Prime Minister is one of India's most important allies in its neighborhood. India also has had a difficult relationship with Bangladesh's opposition parties. If Sheikh Hasina loses the next election, India's neighborhood policy could be in trouble. But why is that? For this, we need to understand Bangladesh's two major political parties. The ruling party is the Awami League, which is led by Sheikh Hasina. The party has long been associated with secularism, Bengali nationalism, and a friendly stance towards India. Hasina is the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the first president of Bangladesh. Sheikh Mujib, who led Bangladesh to independence in 1971, had a clear pro-India stance. This was in part due to India's role in the 1971 war, which led to the creation of Bangladesh. The Awami League ruled the country till 1975, when Sheikh Mujib was assassinated by a group of army officers. Among other things, they claimed that Mujib was selling the country out to India. After some instability, an army officer named Ziaur Rahman took control. And it is speculated that Ziaur Rahman had a role in the assassination of Sheikh Mujib, but that is a controversial claim. He formed the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which is the main opposition party today. And since anti-India sentiment was a key factor in overthrowing Mujib, Ziaur Rahman built close ties with Pakistan and China to offset a perceived threat from India. So during his time in office, there was a lot of distrust and tension in the India-Bangladesh relationship. However, Rahman was himself assassinated in 1981. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which is the main opposition party again, is led today by his widow, Khaleda Zia. She served 2 terms as Bangladesh's Prime Minister from 1991 to 1996 and from 2001 to 2006. And she has largely continued with the party's India skeptic policy. By contrast, Sheikh Hasina, who leads the Awami League, has always backed a strong relationship with India. That has made her extremely important to New Delhi for a few reasons. First, economics. India is interested in boosting connectivity with Bangladesh to improve trade. South Asia is among the least interconnected regions in the world, unlike East Asia or North America. And that hurts trade and economic growth for all the countries in this part of the world. In recent years, India's focus has been on building that connectivity through land, sea, and air routes to improve trade and to bolster India's growing economy. Hasina has helped in that goal by helping re-establish old railway lines, bus services, and waterway routes. And this is an important development given that increased connectivity with India was once a sensitive subject in Bangladesh's politics, given fears of economic and political domination by India. Both countries are also negotiating a free trade agreement and are also working on a trilateral power trade deal with India, Nepal, and Bangladesh involved. Second, there's security. For a long time, India was concerned that Bangladesh's territory was being used by insurgent groups operating in India's northeast. Former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia's government was largely seen not to be acting on India's concerns. However, Sheikh Hasina made clear that she would not allow militant groups to use Bangladesh's territory for insurgencies against India. Her government extradited militant leaders of groups like Alpha back to India, which has led to more trust between the two countries. Of course, Sheikh Hasina's record here is not perfect, and the problem of illegal migration from Bangladesh into India remains a serious concern. Finally, there's also domestic politics. Hasina and her Awami League have taken a more secular, more progressive position on key issues like minority and women's rights. She's also cracked down on major Islamist groups. Sheikh Hasina's government has also been credited with the country's economic transformation. During her tenure, Bangladesh has become one of the fastest growing economies in the world, given the success of its textile and garments export sector. As a result, her government has also helped reduce extreme poverty in the country. Once again, her track record on social issues like violence against minorities has not been perfect. But on the whole, India has been encouraged by the changes Hasina has made at home. These factors have led to increased trust in the India-Bangladesh relationship. In 2015, a thorny issue like the land boundary agreement, which was stuck for decades, was finally worked out. Some progress has also been made on water sharing agreements, which remain a key sticking point in bilateral ties. The bottom line is this: Hasina has been willing to take hard decisions to push the relationship with India forward. And for these reasons, India has an interest in seeing Hasina continue as Prime Minister. Now that brings us to the January 2024 elections. Hasina is seeking re-election after 15 years in office. While some polls show that Bangladeshis rate Hasina highly as Prime Minister, they are less optimistic about the country's economic prospects or the health of its democracy. The popularity of the opposition has risen as the election comes closer. The opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, or the BNP, led by Khaleda Zia, is threatening to boycott the election as they did in 2014 and 2018. They've accused Hasina of rigging elections and want a free and fair election process. This perception of unfair elections is shared by many in Bangladesh and abroad. And over the last few weeks, Bangladesh has seen riots and protests by opposition parties. Now that's where America comes into this whole controversy. Washington has called on Hasina to ensure a free and fair election process and democratic rights for all. It has even threatened visa sanctions against those who undermine democratic elections. While America has generally advocated for democracy, free elections, and liberal values, its advocacy has been fairly selective. It's not exactly clear why Washington is choosing to push these values during this specific Bangladesh election. This American intervention in Bangladesh's domestic politics has become a deeply controversial issue. The opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party has seized on America's intervention as an expression of support for its viewpoint. Meanwhile, Sheikh Hasina has reacted angrily to America's policy. Given what's at stake for India in this election, its diplomats have reportedly gotten involved and have asked the US to reduce pressure on Hasina. If Sheikh Hasina loses the next election, India fears that many extremist groups may gain more power in Bangladesh. Islamist party Jamaat-e-Islami recently held its first political rally in 10 years in Bangladesh. India has also reportedly told the United States that pushing Hasina could also push Bangladesh towards China. China is Bangladesh's top trading partner and among its biggest suppliers of defense equipment. As this whole controversy over elections has grown, China has actively slammed America's intervention in Bangladesh's politics. Meanwhile, the United States could also be endangering its own efforts to build closer ties with Bangladesh. It is the top destination for Bangladesh's exports and has offered to help with the country's military modernization. While India is willing to work with America in its neighborhood, this has been shown as a key example of America's unwillingness to play a supporting role to India in this vital part of the world. Undercutting a solid Indian partner and bolstering China's position threatens to reverse India's hard-won gains in Bangladesh over the last few decades. With just 2 months left to go for the elections, India's most successful relationship in the region is at stake.